Lisa Cook, as you know, Federal Reserve Governor, and Donald Trump tried to fire her on the basis of allegations of mortgage fraud. So there was no any kind of procedure at all before he said that. So during the oral arguments, it was pretty clear that the Supreme Court justices were going to vote with Lisa Cook and not allow Trump to do that because of the status of the Federal Reserve. And during the oral arguments, there were a lot of questions by the conservatives as well about, why was there no process here? She had absolutely no process. What would it take for you to have some kind of a hearing at least before this happened? So there was concern on their part, and Justice Brett Kavanaugh had said prior to that the Fed is different. So that was expected. Now, as far as the Slaughter case, where she's on the FTC, they say that that's different. And because it's not the Fed, but what this does is this really expands presidential power. It means that the president has the authority to fire people at the top of like 20 agencies or so. And what they've done here is they've done away with Humphrey's executor, which was a decision which is standing for about 70, 80 years, I think, about the ability of presidents to fire people, which was that there was no ability for them to fire people at the head of agencies. And they've been cutting back on that bit by bit by bit. And now they appear to have gotten rid of it since I haven't read the opinion yet, obviously, since they're allowing the Slaughter to be fired. And one more thing, too, if you notice this week, what's happening, and last week, what's been happening is that they're releasing opinions at the same time that have to do with a similar issue. And what I think is happening, too, is it used to be that all the big decisions were loaded to the very end, the last day. But now we're seeing big decisions this week and last week. And I think the chief is trying to mix it up so we don't have a day on the last day of the opinion. And there were 6 to 3 decisions, and they were all in these big cases. So I think that's what's happening here.
So let me just make sure I understand.
Okay.
The Supreme Court ruled that Lisa Cook, a Federal Reserve Governor, can stay in her job for now.
What's for now mean?
That's a good question, but it's while litigation continues, right?
Right. So, because they've had no litigation at all. He just said, hello. I want to say
she's getting her due process, in other words.
Well, I assume that we have to see what the president does now. Are they going to go forward with this? Are they going to bother to go forward with this and have it litigated? Probably. And she's got one of the best Supreme Court litigators around, the former Solicitor General Paul Clement, who is just really, his record at the Supreme Court is phenomenal. And I think he is the one who has argued the most cases at the court. And you can see the deference the justices pay to him when he's arguing. So, I mean, that will go on. Her litigation will go on to stop this. But, by the time, who knows, by the time it gets done, Trump could be out of office. I mean, the way these things drag on.
So the president's efforts to push her out of the central bank's board, that is not going forward. That failed.
Yeah.
But, and you were saying that his ability to oust other government agency leaders has been expanded.
Right. This is all part of the theory called the unitary executive theory. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's like that people who believe that the power of the executive branch should be in the president. So all these agencies are executive branch agencies. So the president should have the ability to fire the people who are in charge of the executive branch agencies. But I mean,
the Fed is different.
The Fed is different. But I mean, so with the normal president or the prior presidents, you wouldn't worry about what was going to happen because there wouldn't be a wholesale, you're fired. But, this opens the door, and people have been worried about them doing away with that Humphrey's executor opinion. And
so the risk there is that these agencies perhaps lose some of their independence.
Yes. Yeah. Because, if the president doesn't like what you're doing, you're fired, But I mean, in reality, he is controlling. He has put most people in those agency heads, right? Talking about the FCC and things like that. So I don't know that we'll see anything happening right away, but it's a huge win. And this court, as you know, has been expanding presidential power over and over again. I mean, you had those decisions where, nothing the president does in office, in his duties, can he be prosecuted for. So, I mean, this court just believes in presidential power, and one has to wonder when the next president comes in, if they're not Republican, whether they'll start cutting back on presidential power. I mean,
I think it's worth noting here that stocks fell to session lows, or maybe not fall. They paired their gains and were at session lows right around the time that this opinion was published. They've since come back a little bit, and we're looking at modest gains in the S&P, Dow, and NASDAQ. The Russell 2000 is lower by 1.1%. So among the headlines that we got is the Supreme Court letting Lisa Cook, a Federal Reserve governor, stay in her job. This is a case that really tested the central bank's independence from the White House. So this is a defeat for the president's efforts to oust her over these mortgage fraud allegations. At the same time, we also heard that the Supreme Court has basically said that the mail-in ballots can arrive after Election Day. That's another defeat for the president. And certainly this is relevant given that we're at a midterm election year. On the other hand, and June, this is where it gets a little complicated. The other government agencies are not seen as independent. Really, because the president can let go of whoever he wants to.
Yeah, and I'm trying to pull up the opinion just to see what how they parsed out these two cases. But I'm not getting it. I guess I have to refresh.
Jen, how about this ballot case? Just give us your thoughts on that.
That was a surprise, actually, the ballot case, because that's about Mississippi has a law, as do more than 20 other states, that as long as the ballot is postmarked by Election Day, it can come in 5 days, up to 5 days after, and it'll still be counted. So the Republicans were against this, obviously. President Trump is against this and any kind of mail-in ballots. And during the oral arguments, a lot of the conservatives seemed to be in favor of it, although the Chief Justice and Justice Barrett were wondering, well, would this affect, what about states that have all mail-in ballots? If we say that, so the argument is, in the Constitution, it says Election Day is this day, so you shouldn't be extending it any further. Well, if you can't extend it further, then can you also say, well, they can come in ahead of time? So I think that was part of the reasoning, and Justice Barrett wrote the opinion. But so that's a huge surprise, and it was 5-4, and so the most conservative in the no column. And so that's big, because that could have affected the elections, the midterms coming up in so many states, more than 20. So that's actually a big decision, and it is a surprise.